Hello, Arizona ESA families. It's October, which means it's fall. Yay! My favorite season of the year. I make myself wait until October to pull out all the pumpkin-y stuff. I also wait until the day after Thanksgiving to start playing Christmas music. I digress. Quarter 2 has begun, which means quarter 2 funding is coming soon. And I don't know about you, but I am always so excited for quarter 2 funding because my quarter 1 funding goes by really quickly. Buying all the curriculum, all the start of school things, getting classes started, it goes really quickly. So I am waiting on quarter 2 funding to submit some things for reimbursement, so I can't wait. When can we expect quarter 2 funding to come? According to the ESA Parent Handbook, which if you have not read yet, please go read the Parent Handbook. Quarter 2 funding will come anywhere from October 15th to October 31st. Now, realistically, it's probably going to be on the later end. In 2022, quarter 2 funding came on November 1st. In 2023, it came on October 31st, and in 2024, it came on October 30th. So it could come anytime, but probably it'll be on the later end. One thing I recommend that you do not do is don't go on Facebook and ask people if they've gotten their quarter 2 funding yet. Parents get a little cranky about that. Just wait. People will post when they do get funding. You'll start seeing the post. And usually everybody gets their funding within a few days of each other. If you've seen people posting that they've gotten their funding and you haven't, by all means, call the ESA department and ask them what's going on. But in this case, patience is a virtue. The quarter 2 funding always comes a little bit later, usually than the other quarter's funding, because they are recalculating everybody's award amounts. The initial award amount that you got in quarter 1 was actually an estimate. Your funding amount is based on the school district where your child would go to school if they were in public school. ESA students receive 90% of the amount charter school students would receive. Charter schools don't have access to the property taxes and local taxes that public school students get. So the state gives charter school students a little bit extra to make up for that difference. ESA students, since we also do not get property tax funding or anything like that, our award amount is based on the charter school funding, not the public school funding. The Arizona Department of Education, which administers the ESA program, doesn't have the final district amounts for quarter 1. So they have to recalculate everything for quarter 2 once they've gotten those amounts. And that takes some time. So that's why quarter 2 funding comes a little bit late. Hopefully by Halloween, we can all say trick or treat and start submitting reimbursement requests for those things that we might have been waiting for. Another thing that comes with October is debit cards receipts are due. So with every privilege comes a responsibility. If you have a debit card for your student's ESA account, then you do need to turn in all of the receipts for purchases made in quarter 1. And if it was for tutoring, you need to submit the credentials for the vendor. And if it was supplemental materials, you need to include the curriculum. So whatever documentation you need, just make sure you get that submitted by the deadline, which is the end of the month following the end of that quarter. Quarter 1 was July through September, so that means quarter 1 receipts are due by October 31st, or after 20 transactions. I personally have never gotten close to that, but if you are, better get those receipts uploaded. What do you do if you can't find the receipt for something that you purchased with your debit card? First, you could go back to the vendor and you could ask them if they can reissue you a receipt. If you can't provide the documentation needed for a transaction, you will have to pay it back. It's not a big deal. You can just write a note, take a picture of it, upload that as documentation in Class Wallet, explain, and then send in the money. Make sure you reference the order number and contract number on your check. It'll be okay. One thing you don't have to do by October 31st is submit your reimbursement requests for purchases that were made in quarter 1. This is a welcome change in the 2025-2026 ESA Parent Handbook. Probably my favorite change that they made, honestly. They finally clarified what the deadline is for reimbursement requests. When I first joined the program back in 2022, I called the Department of Education and ask them what the deadline was for submitting reimbursement requests, because it is not specified in the handbook. It's also not specified in the law. And I was told at that time that I had until the end of the month after the end of the contract year. So same time that Q4 debit card receipts would be due, that's when reimbursement requests would be due. So that's what I always went by. I did always call every year just to make sure that they still were following that. Last year that changed. Even though the handbook didn't change, they did change their policy and started enforcing that if you submitted something that you had purchased in Q1, a couple of months into Q2, they would say, nope, sorry, you missed the deadline for that. You cannot submit that. That was kind of a pain, and I did actually miss out on getting some reimbursements for some things because of that. So I'm very glad that they clarified for this handbook that you have the entire contract year to submit reimbursement requests. And that's nice because sometimes you don't have the funding to submit those reimbursement requests. But I do recommend that if you have the funding in your account, submit those reimbursement requests as soon as you can. Take it from somebody with experience that it's not a good idea to let those things pile up too much. I personally struggle with procrastination, but just get it done. Get those reimbursement requests submitted as soon as you can and get that funding back, and then just go enjoy your fall. Enjoy a pumpkin latte or the beautiful weather that we're finally enjoying here in Arizona. If you don't have any expenses to report for Q1, you do need to go to Class Wallet and you need to check the little box that says, I don't have any expenses to report from this quarter. That has never happened to me before and probably never will. I think I'm going to go submit some reimbursement requests myself. Have a good fall.